Hello, everyone. I come to you with a question this day, and please, someone, give me an answer for this because I've literally been searching my mind, trying to come up with something logical to answer this, and I failed. I have no idea at this point. Someone, please tell me what is the point of Transformers Red? Because as much as I've been backseating this toy line, I got two or three figures from it. I've not been collecting it or following it too much, but from what I've seen and from the opinions I've seen and what it seems to be doing, I can't figure out what the direction of the line is supposed to be. Right? So on paper, it looks fine, right? So we're gonna do cartoon and screen accurate action figures that don't transform. They just look as accurate to the show as we can get them. Okay, now on the surface, that's fine. You're basically making Marvel Legends with Transformer characters. Perfectly fine. It's the execution that throws me off, and it's the choices that the toy line has been making, and the toy line that Hasbro has also been cooperating with. That seems to make this redundant. So let's get in. We'll look at a few examples here. So obviously we're going to look at Optimus Prime first. So if we're talking about a toy line that is supposed to put screen accuracy above all, I would expect it to look like it walked out of the cartoon. This Optimus Prime is okay at that. It's got issues. They added some sculpting that the original animation model did not feature. There's a few design shapes that are a little bit odd. What gets me the most on him are the translucent windows, and not my usual like clear plastic whining that I always do. I have no concern about fragility there. But why? If you're going for screen accurate, why wouldn't it just be light blue and just look solid? Because Prime, you could never see through Prime's chest in the original cartoon. So why would you make his chest see through on the toy? Especially with the Matrix just kind of sitting there. For some ancient bauble that the Decepticons would kill to get their hands on, you probably wouldn't just want to advertise it being right there. More to the point, Optimus Prime was only shown with the Matrix in the cartoon once, and he was silver at the time. So this doesn't work for me. And it's just a simple choice. I know. It's a very simple thing, but it immediately kind of makes me wonder how accurate are they even trying to be, or is accuracy even that important? And there's other examples. Oh, there's other examples. For instance, we have a Bumblebee, which for some inexplicable reason they added battle damage and like rust details to G1 Bumblebee, like he's the '07 movie like original Bumblebee, like the original Camaro Bumblebee. Like why is it this is back to this like Hasbro adding inexplicable battle damage to their figures, knowing fans don't like it or knowing it's inaccurate, and then taking it off later and saying they did us a favor. No, like this is just inaccurate from the get-go. And what makes Bumblebee worse is the fact that he is also a 6-inch tall action figure. He's just as tall as Optimus Prime and Megatron, and at the same time, he's not as bulky as those two either. Which mean, or well, he's bulky. Which it means because like he still retains all of his roundness. He's actually just like bulky or bulkier than Optimus and Megatron. That is what I meant. That is what I meant. He's taller, but he's still in his normal proportions. So it looks really off, and it makes no sense with him standing next to Optimus Prime. It's not a good look. Now, if you just want a Bumblebee figure and that's the only thing you're going to buy, it's fine. And that's probably what they were going for with that release, to be fair. But collectors. We're gonna want a spread of our characters all together. We're gonna want them to look like they all go together and they're all from like the same toy line. Bumblebee immediately you put to the side and go, you know, you're a special child. You don't go anywhere. You stay over there. Don't associate with the rest of my red collection. And of course, there is no Bumblebee that's actually in scale. There's no mini bots of any kind. Again, this is the type of toy line where you expect like they do the Marvel Legends thing, where maybe smaller figures are like a build a figure thing, where you buy everything from the first two waves and you can just build a Bumblebee that's like the right size for everybody. No, didn't do that. There's no smaller price point to get characters like Bumblebee out. There's also no larger price point. So a larger character that would be a potential for this toy line, like a combiner character, bigger characters like Prime Bulkhead. Nope, not candidates. It has to be people that fit the 6-inch mold, you know, and that gets a pretty limited pool when you get down to it. So Bumblebee is part of the oddness. But the oddness to me also comes from the character choices they make. See, I would look at Transformers Red as an opportunity to release characters that typically you didn't have the chance to make, or that making them as a transforming figure would inherently cause problems. And to Red's credit, they did do that to a limited extent, but largely they stuck to Generation 1. So here we have their take on Starscream. And again, Starscream is a little bit sleeked down, a little bit more tech greeble has been sculpted in. So cartoon accuracy is not quite here the way that the toy line would claim to be paying attention to it. So here we have Starscream from Earthrise. Now, if I go back and forth here, I would argue that these two are both equally far from screen accurate as each other, just in different ways. And the advent here is that, comparatively the same articulation, Earthrise actually transforms. It's a little bit more expensive, but still, I would rather a transforming Starscream for the same price. That is, again, the thing that confuses me. Transformers Red are $22.99. They're the price of a deluxe. If they were cheaper figures than the transforming figures, again, I would see where there is room for them to exist. But they're competing with the same price points as the normal Transformer line. So I don't understand it. And I don't see the appeal of getting one over this one. This one is superior, period. And then there's things like looking at Primal here. And Primal is one of those characters where it's very easy to make his figure and it still looks really, really nice. The Kingdom Optimus Primal is a really, really good figure that fully transforms and doesn't look a whole lot different than this in robot mode at all. And what got me about this is that this toy came out within a year of Kingdom and Netflix Optimus Primal. There were stores where you could legitimately find them at the same time, and the same is true of the Walmart reissue. This is exclusive to Walmart, so is the Beast Wars reissue line, meaning we got the same two characters at the same time. Cheetor for me was the worst example in the entire line. For starters, what happened? What happened to this Cheetor? Why is there so much bronze? Why is there so much bronze painted on him? What is up with his head that looks like 2 sizes too big and looks way too angry? I don't know, if you're going screen accuracy, this is basic stuff, right? This is basic stuff you shouldn't have gotten wrong, and it is disastrously wrong. Meanwhile, this is the Netflix Cheetor. This is also a Walmart exclusive, which means there's times where you could probably find these two at the same time on the shelf, along with the reissue Cheetor, mind you. You'll excuse me if I'm trying to keep a tickle out of my throat. Point being, this is not perfect representation of Cheetor, don't get me wrong. But you can't strive and hope for perfection out of every single release. You're always going to be disappointed because the imperfect is impossible. The masterpiece Cheetor is not perfect. So this I think looks really, really good considering it fully transforms and it has an articulated cheetah mode on top of a really articulated robot mode. And yeah, without the bronze and with the thing and with his body in better proportions, I think it's a far superior version than the one that's supposedly screen accurate. And they're the same price. And this one didn't have to transform, so it has no excuses for not being spot on. Excuse the pun. More to the point, when you're releasing brand new toys of these characters, why would you in turn also release non-transforming versions of the exact same characters at roughly the same time? You've already met the demand. Like, the demand for the character is sated. Why? Half of the toys for, like, I think even more than half of the toys for Red so far have already had figures on the shelves at roughly the same time. You had Kingdom Optimus Prime around the same time as Red Optimus Prime. Same with the, even Megatron in that regard for the Earthrise mold. You had, obviously Primal and Cheetor. And I get, even Galvatron now is coming out when Kingdom slash Legacy Galvatron is on the shelves. I don't know why you would try to intentionally double up the characters so much when you have an opportunity to do characters that you don't have at retail shelves right now. This is a cool toy line to put out things like Bludgeon, something that looks really cool on a toy shelf, but, thematically, he's not going to get a G1 accurate toy for multiple reasons. He'd be a really cool one to do at Red scale, but but that would be fan friendly, and we can't really have that. But even on a mass market thing, I still do not understand why. I don't understand the reasoning why you would repeat the characters so quickly. And then came the weirdest part. I think Red was only like a wave or two deep before they announced that Super 7 got the license to do Transformers Ultimates. And you'll excuse the size of the photo. I don't know why the photo is so small. It's not supposed to do that. But yeah, look at it. Okay, so obviously the Super 7 toys are going to be way more expensive. They're like double the price of a Red figure or more. But look at what you're getting. It is a much larger figure. It is more cartoon accurate, and it's sculpted a lot better. If what you want is a cartoon accurate version of that character, you've got a better version, in a version that's more collector friendly as well, and a more fun one too. I like how they play with the accessories on the Ultimates figures. Optimus Prime comes with the basketball he was playing with in one episode. That's not something that any other Prime toy has ever come out with. That's a cool thing to have, you know so it's doing what I think Red should do. It's taking unique opportunities, and they had the smart idea to actually go for Action Masters right away, knowing that that's exactly what they were producing. So something like Bonsai-tron here has a lease on life now. Yes, it's a super obscure character only collectors are going to know about, let alone care about, but this is Ultimates. They are designed for collectors first and foremost, so they can actually get away with that. Now, you could have done the same thing with Red. You could have made an Optimus Prime that was actually his Action Master style, and not only would it have hit a note with collectors that might have gotten some interest, it would have been a different style of Optimus Prime rather than just doing G1, straight up G1 Optimus Prime right after Earthrise and Kingdom did straight up G1 Optimus Prime. Netflix line as well, now that we are referencing it. Again, too much doubling up. Someone told me that it was similar to them. Similar to them, it was similar to Hasbro basically throwing in the towel on brick-built toys and just licensing Lego to make Optimus Prime. And I don't necessarily agree with that because Creo has been dead for years by the time Hasbro and Lego announced that their figure was coming out. So it doesn't, like, that seems like the timeline fits. Super 7 got the license while they were still actively developing Red. So it's not a case of them giving up. It's a case of them letting someone else do the exact same thing while they are still producing it, which is confusing. Again, it seems like they're not trying with the toy line, aside from the character choices aren't right, styling isn't quite right. But now it feels like they've given up on the line while they're still producing the line. I don't get it. It doesn't feel that way to me. It does feel to me like someone at Hasbro really wanted Transformers to have their own Marvel Legends. The problem here is that Marvel Legends gets away with a lot because of the way it's designed. Transformers have to be designed from the ground up, individual, each and every one, unless they're just like a repaint or something. And Red does have a few repaints, but largely new molds. The advantage to Legends for Marvel is most of them come from the same basic buck. A pre-made action figure blank has all the articulation and engineering and proportions already planned out. And what you need to make the character that you want to represent is usually just down to head and hand sculpts, which is what Reed Richards is here. He's a very basic body that has been painted to be the right character. And this mold could be used for any number of somewhat thinner Marvel Legends hero, Marvel Comics heroes. This could be a Spider-Man mold in some other life for all I know. I know they reuse molds all the time across figures. Pardon me, I don't know if this Reed Richards has ever been a Spider-Man toy at some point, but you get my point. Marvel Legends does this particular design style a lot. They can get away with it because superheroes just wear spandex. Most of them just look like bodybuilders painted different colors. But you can't replicate that in Transformers because everyone's body type is unique. All the positions and articulation has to be in different spots. So if they're trying to do Marvel Legends with Transformers, that was already a failing point, and Hasbro should have been very aware of it before they tried. So again, I ask, what were they thinking? What were they actually trying to do? The only time I feel like Red really succeeded was when they did Prime RC and Knockout. Now, RC wasn't terribly well received. She's not that great of an action figure, but she looks like she does on the screen. And it's a design that cannot physically be replicated correctly. So it makes perfect sense to do in Transformers Red. Knockout is very much the same way. It's a very cool looking robot mode that really does not apply itself well to a transforming figure. We saw in Transformers Prime's toy line, the deluxe Knockout was not good at all. We've seen in the Legacy line that Knockout is going to be a Jazz retool, which comes close, but it still does not look like the Prime character. This is where Red should have shined. And Red really should have stuck to these designs that were popular characters that couldn't have transforming toys. That's where the butter zone was. I don't know why they didn't go for it more. And they're still not going for it. Like I said, like the newest waves are like Ultra Magnus, which is a repainted Prime, and Galvatron, which, good for Galvatron fans, I guess. This is where I feel like it should succeed. And there's only certain scenarios where I can feel like something like Red actually has a place of existence. And that place would be if Transformers reaches a point where articulation is the next thing to get budgeted out of the figures in the main lines. So 5-6 years down the line or so, when Hasbro is evaluating how expensive production is again and deciding what the price points need to be and what sacrifices need to be made, I can see figures coming out that don't have, wrist or bicep articulation. They don't have thigh rotation or waist articulation, because that means less parts that have to be made, less parts that have to be assembled, and more wide, larger areas that can be hollowed out. Cost-cutting measures. They've been doing it for years. I could actually see like that finer level of detail and articulation on the chopping block next. And if we were celebrating the 45th anniversary of Transformers with a bunch of low articulation brick action figures, but Transformers Red would provide these high articulation toys with the sacrifice of transformation, then you actually have a little bit of room for both to coexist. But right now, the main line seems to be meeting all requirements. So again, right back to the beginning, what is the point of this toy line? I ask of Hasbro, I ask of fans. Is there any dedicated Transformer Red fan out there that sings their praises? Or is it just something taking up a slot at Walmart in a toy line that already has, let's be honest, Way too many lines going at the same time right now. Let me know in the comments below. This is just one collector's take. I'm sure there are many other takes that you can make of this. Let me know what you think of Transformers Red. I'm genuinely curious this time. And thank you guys for watching. I know this is me just ranting, but if you came to listen to me rant, I hope you were satisfied today. So I will see you for tomorrow's video. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.